Okay, welcome back to the disco. Let's see what we can talk about now. How about all these little buttons and knobs and stuff? What do you see over here? Okay, so these are just basically your track controls. You might use this a lot, you might not. If you want to rename a track, like say this was all like background sound, and then this was all like main voices, then you can name it all if you wanted to. So that's really not a big deal, except that when you go to the mixer, which you may or may not use depending on your style of work, you'll notice that anything you renamed gets renamed over here so you can keep track of it. But the mixer is just modifying volumes and EQ, that's it. Some people never use the mixer, and that's totally okay, because you can do what you want to do, volumes and EQ, all from within here. It's totally not necessary. Okay, so I want to zoom in or zoom out so I can get a better view. I'm zooming using this little thing here. You could also hold your mouse over it, and if you have a scroll wheel, you can turn the scroll wheel and you can get a better view over here. Some people like to use the zoom tools, which are sitting right here, which is cool. And then you've got different ways of zooming. You could highlight a little area and just say, hey, I need to zoom in right on that little section right there. Or you could say, hey, I need to zoom all the way out, which is one of these over here. It's not that one. Alright, so one of those is zoom all the way out over here. Okay, there it is. Okay, so anyway, that's zoom in. I don't like zooming with these tools over there. I don't like it one bit. By the way, you've got other tools down here. You got your transport button or bar, and this means that you can play everything that you have. This plays everything right here. This will pause it. Keep in mind that when things are paused, you lose a lot of functions. So don't pause too often unless you just want to stop in that section. But the minute you pause, you can't do a whole lot of other stuff. Sometimes it won't do certain effects, etc., etc. It doesn't tell you, hey, you're on pause. You got to figure that out on your own. It took me 2 months to figure that out. Okay, so anyway, so I'll stop that. And you got various fast forward buttons, looping a section if you want to, and then finally recording, which we'll get to way later on. Hey, notice that after I zoomed out, I lost a lot of stuff over here. And that's pretty common because it just depends on your zoom. So the more zoomed in you are, then the more things you see. So this is just for inputs and outputs for recording and setting up different things. It's not used just yet. We'll get to that. And this is automated function. We don't really use that too much. So really all you need to know here is, for a basic multi-track setup, is, hey, can I rename my tracks? Okay, cool. Can I turn down the overall volume? Can I pan things left to right, meaning, hey, everything here is on the left, everything's on the right, or kind of on the left or kind of on the right. And these are important right here. You can turn off a track temporarily if you don't want to hear it. That's kind of cool. And you can solo a track also. So what the difference is that if you mute a track, only that track gets turned off. If you solo a track, you only hear that track, which is cool because some people, when they want to hear just one track, they go through and they go, oh, let me mute this, and let me mute that, and let me mute that. And that takes a long time. Don't do that unless you got time to kill. Just solo the track you want to hear. If you want to solo a couple tracks, I think it might be Control, or maybe it's not Control. Maybe it's Shift. Let's see. Shift. Okay, so if you hold your Shift button down, you can solo a couple tracks at a time, if that's what you want to do. Okay, so that's those functions right over here. And then if you want to put effects on a track, then you'd hit your effects button, and then on your effects button right here, then you go to get a bigger view. You could either do this number right here so you could see everything there, or you could just zoom in or out like that. But this gives you a whole lot of slots to put effects in. So if you wanted to put like a delay or a chorus right there, you could do it right there, and you could choose your favorite preset. Matter of fact, you could put a couple of them on right there. The only problem is that once you start doing this, it has to perform all these effects in real time, each and every single time it comes to this. So if you have like 10 tracks with 10 effects on each thing, it's going to totally bog down your computer and it's not going to be able to play anymore. So if you can, do your effects somewhere else, like maybe in the edit view, but of course keep in mind you might want to rename the file. Or if you do the effects over here and you don't want it to bog down your computer, then there's another cool little button right here, and that's freeze. And what freeze will do is just does that. Oh, I gotta save the session. We'll talk about the session, what the session is later on. Basically, the session is the project you're working on. So I'm gonna call this test. How about that? Okay, so now it's freezing the track. And so what happens here is this WAV file and all the effects that are on it will get rendered out as a new WAV file, and then that'll be used temporarily instead of running the effects and draining the CPU every time. So if you do that, you basically get all your CPU power back. Now look, this is going to take a long time because it's a very long song or long track that I'm using right there, and it's trying to put chorus and all that on there. So I've got to wait some time, but the spirit of doing that is maybe that'll help me later on. Okay, I'll cancel that out and do that. Okay, so anyway, those are the effects. You can double click on it too and just remove all the effects if you wanted to. But then of course you don't hear them anymore. Okay, so those are some of the basic buttons that aren't really in the arrangement window over here. So you got the mute, turns things off, the solo that makes sure you only hear one thing, and then you have an R for recording. We'll get to recording later on. That's if you want to record voices live in the multi-track view. We'll do that. And you got a main volume and some panning over here.